A penthouse on Park Avenue. A 4-month pregnant wife, Josephine, clutches her stomach as her millionaire husband, Gregory Shaw, stands over her. He isn't holding flowers. He's holding a polished mahogany cane. He raises it. The argument wasn't just about the perfume on his collar. It was about the other woman, Brenda. And for her, Gregory was willing to sacrifice his wife and his unborn child. He struck. But Gregory made one fatal mistake. He didn't just attack a pregnant woman. He attacked the sister of Maxwell, Ethan, and Leo Davenport, 3 of the most powerful CEOs in the country, and they were coming to collect. The penthouse felt less like a home and more like a museum exhibit on cold modern wealth. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased a glittering, indifferent New York City. Every surface was polished black marble, sharp glass, or sterile white leather. It was a space designed for impressing, not for living. And for Josephine Davenport Shaw, it had become a prison. At 4 months pregnant, she should have been glowing. Instead, she was perpetually on edge. Her husband, Gregory Shaw, was a master of a particular kind of domestic terrorism, the kind that left no visible bruises until today. He was a self-made real estate mogul, a charismatic public speaker, and a darling of the city's philanthropic scene. In public, he would rest a possessive hand on her growing stomach, smiling for the cameras. In private, the smile vanished, replaced by a cold assessment, a quiet correction, or, most terrifyingly, a chilling silence. He had spent the first 2 years of their marriage systematically isolating her. Her friends were too frivolous. Her family, the formidable Davenport brothers, were too controlling. He'd convinced her that their constant check-ins were a sign of disrespect for her new life, for him. And Josephine, desperately in love with the man she thought he was, had slowly, fatally agreed. She answered their calls less and less, offering vague, happy excuses. The ironclad bond she shared with her 3 older brothers had rusted over, all by Gregory's careful design. The mistress, Brenda Holloway, wasn't a secret Josephine found, but a presence that forced its way in. It was the scent of a heavy, gardenia-based perfume. Josephine was allergic to gardenias, clinging to his suits. It was the late-night board meetings that left his eyes bright and energized, not fatigued. Tonight, the discovery was concrete, a platinum jeweler's receipt fallen from his coat pocket, a tennis bracelet, diamond, 5 carat. It wasn't for her. Her birthday was months away. "Gregory," she began, her voice trembling, holding the white slip of paper. I found this." Gregory didn't look up from his tablet. He was reviewing stock reports. "Find what?" "This receipt, from de Jonghe, for a Brenda Holloway." She said the name, and the air in the $30 million penthouse crackled. He looked up. His eyes, usually a warm hazel, were flat. "You went through my pockets." "It fell out. Gregory, who is she? Why are you buying her diamonds?" The baby gave a small flutter, as if sensing her mother's distress. "She's a consultant," Gregory said dismissively, turning back to his screen. "A gift for a successful contract. It's business." "Business?" Josephine's voice cracked. "You don't buy consultants 5 carat bracelets, Greg. I'm not stupid." "No," he said, standing up slowly. He was a tall man, impeccably dressed. "You're not stupid. You're emotional. You're pregnant. And you're becoming a liability." "A liability?" The word hit her harder than a slap. "I am your wife. I am carrying your child." "A child I'm beginning to think was a mistake," he hissed. The charm was gone. This was the real Gregory, the one she'd been afraid to admit existed. You were supposed to be the perfect, quiet, supportive wife. The Davenport name was supposed to help me. Instead, I get this hysterical, prying mess. He moved toward the door, grabbing his overcoat. Josephine, desperate, grabbed his arm. "Don't you walk away from me. You are sleeping with her, aren't you?" Gregory turned. His face was a mask of pure, reptilian rage. "You will not speak to me that way. You are a liar, an adulterer," she screamed, tears of betrayal finally streaming down her face. "I am the man who owns you," he snarled. "The one who took you in when your brothers were busy building their empires. You have nothing without me." "I am a Davenport," she whispered, a sudden surge of her old self returning. "And you will not—" He cut her off, but not with his hand. By the entryway, next to a marble umbrella stand, Gregory kept a collection of antique walking sticks. He favored a polished mahogany one with a heavy silver head. He grabbed it. "You want to talk about your family?" he spat, advancing on her. "You want to invoke the Davenports in my house?" "Gregory, no, please. The baby." "You should have thought of the baby before you accused me," he said. His voice was calm. That was the most terrifying part. He swung the cane. It didn't hit her face. He was too smart for that. It struck her side, just above her hip, with a sickening crack. Josephine screamed and collapsed onto the marble floor, a new, agonizing pain shooting through her ribs. "Gregory! God, no! My ribs!" He stood over her, his chest heaving, the cane still in his hand. "Brenda is right. You're weak. Your whole family is weak." He raised it again. "You will learn respect." He brought the stick down on her legs. She curled into a ball, her arms wrapped desperately around her stomach, trying to protect the tiny life inside her. The sound of the heavy wood hitting her flesh echoed in the sterile, cavernous room. "Please, please, I'll be quiet. I'll be quiet," she sobbed. Gregory stared down at her, his lip curled in disgust. "Pathetic." He adjusted his tie, dropped the cane. It clattered loudly on the floor beside her, and picked up his coat. "I'm going to Brenda's," he said, as if discussing the weather. "The doctor's number is on the fridge. Try not to bleed on the grout. It stains." He walked out. The heavy penthouse door clicked shut, the deadbolt engaging automatically. Josephine lay on the cold marble, agony radiating from her ribs and legs, a greater, colder terror enveloping her heart. He had left her. He had beaten her, his pregnant wife, with a stick, and left her. She lay there for 10 minutes, sobbing, before a new, stronger instinct took over. It wasn't just her life anymore. Gritting her teeth against the blinding pain in her side, she dragged herself across the floor to her purse. Her hands, shaking violently, fumbled for her phone. She hit the first number on her favorites list, the one she hadn't called in 3 months. It rang once. "Josephine?" The voice that answered wasn't the warm, teasing Max of her childhood. It was the voice of Maxwell Davenport, CEO of Davenport Industries. Cold, precise, and instantly alert. "Max," she wept, the word barely a whisper. "Max, he hurt me. He hurt the baby. Please, help me." There was a half-second of pure, dense silence on the line. "Where is he, Josie?" Maxwell's voice was terrifyingly calm. He left. He went to his mistress. Brenda. Good. My security is on the ground floor. Mr. Price is at your door. It will open in 5 seconds. Do not move. We're coming. Max. We're coming, Josie. And then I'm going to take him apart. Piece by piece. The click of the deadbolt retracting was the loudest sound Josephine had ever heard. The door to the penthouse swung open, not with a bang, but with a smooth, silent efficiency. Mr. Price, Maxwell's head of security for over 2 decades, filled the doorway. He was a broad man in a dark suit who looked like he was carved from granite. His face, usually impassive, contorted in a rare expression of pure fury. "Mrs. Shaw," he said, his voice a low rumble. He was flanked by 2 other men, all wearing the discreet Davenport security insignia. Price was at her side in an instant, his hand surprisingly gentle as he assessed her. "Don't move. Paramedics are en route to the secure location." He spoke into his lapel. "Package is compromised. Clear the service elevator. Execute extraction protocol." He looked at the mahogany cane lying on the floor. He didn't touch it. He simply took a photo of it with his phone, his expression hardening. My ribs," Josephine whispered, tears streaming. "He hit me with the cane." "We know, Mom. We're getting you out." They didn't lift her. A compact medical stretcher was brought in. With trained, precise movements, they transferred her onto it, Mr. Price himself securing the straps to keep her immobile. "Protect her abdomen," he commanded. As they moved her out, Josephine caught a last glimpse of the penthouse. The pristine white leather, the glittering skyline, the dark cane on the pale marble. A perfect life, shattered. The ride down the service elevator was silent. A black, armored SUV was waiting in the loading bay. She was loaded in, and the vehicle sped into the New York night, followed by a second SUV. Within 15 minutes, they weren't at a hospital. They were pulling into the private underground garage of a sleek glass building that bore no name. This was the Davenport Clinic, a private, state-of-the-art medical facility Maxwell had built, initially for his employees and now used for the family's most sensitive matters. Dr. Helen Reeves, the family's longtime physician and a top OB-GYN, was waiting. Her kind face was a storm of anger and professional concern. "Josie, honey," she said, cutting through the security chatter. "We're going to take care of you. Let's get you to imaging right now." As they wheeled her into the trauma bay, the doors at the end of the hall burst open. It was them, her brothers. Maxwell, Max Davenport, the eldest. He was the strategist, the CEO of Davenport Industries, a global tech conglomerate. He was wearing a tailored suit, but his tie was loosened, and his eyes were chips of ice. Ethan Davenport, the middle brother, the public face, CEO of the Davenport Media Group, DMG. He was the charmer, the one who could command a boardroom or a red carpet. Tonight, his handsome features were twisted into a snarl, and Leo Davenport, the youngest. The Shark, CEO of Davenport Capital, a hedge fund so aggressive it was feared on Wall Street. Leo was volatility personified, all fiery passion and ruthless instinct. He looked physically ill with rage. "Josie!" Leo surged forward, but Max put a hand on his chest, stopping him. "Let Helen work, Leo," Max commanded. His voice was quiet, but it held absolute authority. "He's a dead man," Leo breathed, his fists clenching and unclenching. "Max, I will kill him. I'll fly to his penthouse and throw him off the balcony." "You'll do exactly as I say," Max replied, his gaze locked on Josephine. "We will not be driven by rage. We will be driven by justice. This will be cold, it will be precise, and it will be total." Ethan, meanwhile, was already on his phone, his voice a lethal whisper. "Shut it down. I want a complete media blackout. No one reports on this. I want a digital perimeter around this building and a full-scale investigation into a Brenda Holloway. I want to know where she buys her coffee, what she's afraid of, and who she's connected to. And get me everything on Gregory Shaw. I want his business partners, his secret accounts, his college roommates. Dig up everything." Dr. Reeves emerged from the imaging room an hour later. The 3 brothers stood as one. "She's stable," Dr. Reeves said, and the three men visibly deflated. The baby's heartbeat is strong. We're very, very lucky. He's a fighter. And Josephine? Max asked. 2 fractured ribs on the left side. Severe deep tissue bruising on her thigh and hip. She'll be in significant pain, and she'll be here for a while. The next 48 hours are critical for the pregnancy. We need to watch for any signs of placental abruption. But she's strong. Her body protected the baby. Dr. Reeves's eyes flashed. She asked me a question. She asked if the baby would be okay. And is it? Ethan asked, his voice strained. I believe so. But she also asked, he's going to come for me, isn't he? Leo let out a sound that was half laugh, half sob. Let him. Please let him try. Max turned to his brothers. He won't get within 1,000 feet of her. Price is locking this building down. But that's defense. It's time to play offense. He led them to a sterile white conference room down the hall. Mr. Price was already there, projecting an image onto the wall. It was a live feed from a high-powered lens aimed at an apartment building across town. Gregory Shaw, Price reported. He arrived at this address 1 hour ago. The penthouse suite belongs to a Brenda Holloway, 31, a consultant for a rival real estate firm. He hasn't emerged. The 3 brothers stared at the feed. Gregory Shaw was visible through the window, laughing, a drink in his hand. Brenda Holloway, a sharp-featured brunette, was toasting him. They were celebrating. Leo slammed his hand on the table. He's celebrating while she's in a hospital bed. That celebration, Max said, his voice a flat, deadly monotone, is the last happy moment of his life. He took a cane to our sister. We are going to take a wrecking ball to his. What's the plan? Ethan asked. We don't just bankrupt him, Max said, his eyes on the screen. We don't just ruin his reputation. We excavate his life. We find the foundations he built, and we turn them to dust. Leo, I want his money. Ethan, I want his name. And I, Max added, will find the lie that holds his entire empire together. He wanted to be a part of this family. Now, he's going to find out what that really means. The Davenport War Room was not a dark, concrete bunker. It was a glass-walled sanctuary at the top of the Davenport Industries Tower, suspended over the city. It was soundproof, secure, and powered by more processing power than a small country. For the next 3 weeks, it became the nexus of Gregory Shaw's destruction. Josephine was secure at the clinic, under 24/7 guard and Dr. Reeves's constant care. She was healing, slowly, the physical pain ebbing, but the psychological trauma remained. The brothers visited one by one, keeping their work separate from her recovery. But the work was all-consuming. Max stood before a 3-dimensional, holographic model of Shaw Enterprises' corporate structure. He's over-leveraged, Max said, pointing to a glowing red node. He built his empire on debt, using his public reputation as collateral. He's a house of cards. We just need to find the right card to pull. Leo, buzzing with a predatory energy, was prowling the perimeter of the room, tablet in hand. "I've found it," he said. Shaw just sank 90% of his liquid capital into a new luxury condo development in Dubai. He's partnered with a shaky consortium, and he's personally guaranteed the loans. He's counting on a massive pre-sale event next month to service the debt. If that event fails, or if his credit line is called in, he's finished. "A failed event," Ethan mused, spinning in his chair. "That's my department." He was already typing. His entire brand is built on exclusivity and reliability. He's the golden boy of New York real estate. What happens when the gold starts to tarnish? Ethan's team at DMG began their campaign. It was subtle at first, a whisper, a cloud of digital smoke. It started with a few high-end real estate blogs, all anonymously owned by a DMG subsidiary, posting concerns about the Dubai market's instability. Then, a more reputable financial journal, one where Ethan sat on the board, ran a skeptical op-ed about celebrity developers expanding too quickly. Simultaneously, Ethan's social media division launched a Black Ops campaign. They created an army of sophisticated, AI-driven bot accounts, posing as disgruntled investors and angry former employees of Shaw Enterprises. They didn't slander, they just asked questions. Just wondering why H. Shaw Enterprises fired their entire quality assurance team last quarter. Did anyone else's deposit on the Miami property get lost in accounting for 3 weeks? Heard rumors about construction materials at the new Dubai site. Hope they're using high-grade steel. The seeds of doubt were sown. Meanwhile, Max was digging deeper. His origin story, Max said, projecting a new file. Gregory Shaw, the boy from Brooklyn, who built it all with a $10,000 loan from his uncle. It's perfect. Too perfect. You think it's a lie? Leo asked. I think the man who beat his pregnant wife is capable of more than just assault, Max replied. Price's team is digging into his early life. The uncle, the first company. We need the original sin, the lie at the foundation. While his brothers focused on the business, Leo focused on the money. He couldn't launch a frontal assault on Shaw's stock. It would be too obvious. Instead, he used Davenport Capital to apply pressure through the back door. He identified the primary lender for the Dubai project, a mid-sized aggressive investment bank called Jensen Tate. Jensen Tate, Leo said, a shark's grin spreading across his face. They're hungry, which means they're also nervous. Leo began a coordinated bear raid on Jensen Tate itself. He started short-selling their stock through a dozen different shell corporations, while simultaneously feeding anonymous tips to financial regulators about Jensen Tate's own risk exposure. The bank's stock wobbled. They got nervous. And when a lender gets nervous, they call their riskiest clients. Gregory Shaw was in his penthouse, Brenda's penthouse, when he got the call. His primary lender was restructuring their risk portfolio. They needed an additional $50 million in collateral from him, immediately. Gregory was stunned. This was a shakedown. That's outrageous, he bellowed into the phone. I have the pre-sale event next month. The money is guaranteed. The pre-sale event that partners are getting cold feet about? The banker replied coolly. The one that's getting hammered on social media. We see the smoke, Greg. We need proof of fire insurance. $50 million for 48 hours. Or we seize the Dubai assets and call in your personal guarantee. Gregory was trapped. He didn't have $50 million in liquid cash. He'd sunk it all into the project. Brenda Holloway watched him, a cool, calculating look in her eyes. What's wrong, honey? Trouble in paradise? It's nothing, he snapped. It's the Davenports. I know it is. They're trying to spook my investors. Well, spook them back, Brenda said, sipping her wine. You're Gregory Shaw. Handle it. Gregory started making frantic calls. He tried to move money from his other accounts, only to find them frozen. Max's legal team had filed a series of emergency injunctions in family court, citing dissipation of marital assets in preparation for the divorce. They'd locked down every account they knew about. He was bleeding, and he didn't know where the cuts were coming from. In the war room, the brothers watched his stock ticker plunge. He's vulnerable, Leo said, his eyes glowing. He's desperate. Now, we push him off the cliff. Not yet, Max said. He's not just a failed businessman. He's a violent criminal. Ruining his finances isn't enough. People need to know what he is. Ethan smiled. That's part 2, and it's about to begin. Ethan picked up his phone. Run it. Across town, a major online gossip portal, one that specialized in high society scandal and was secretly fed by Ethan's team, published a new, explosive story. Millionaire mogul Gregory Shaw's Park Avenue Brawl. Where is Josephine Shaw, and who is the mysterious Brenda H.? The story was vague on details, but heavy on insinuation. It spoke of a violent altercation, a mysterious disappearance of the pregnant wife, and a new companion. It didn't accuse. It just asked questions. Gregory's phone, which had been ringing with calls from his bankers, now started ringing with calls from the press. His entire world was beginning to unravel. Gregory Shaw was a man who thrived on control. Now, for the first time in his life, he was in a free fall. The Jensen Tate demand for $50 million was a death blow. His known assets were frozen by Josephine's divorce lawyers. His stock in Shaw Enterprises was plummeting as rumors of the Dubai project's collapse spread. Ethan's media campaign had turned him from a pillar of the community to a person of interest overnight. He was trapped in Brenda's apartment, a penthouse that now felt like a gilded cage. "You have to do something," he yelled, throwing his phone at the wall. "Call your contacts. You said you had connections." Brenda Holloway watched him, her expression unreadable. She hadn't signed up for this. She had wanted to bleed him dry slowly to replace Josephine as the new Mrs. Shaw. This was a bloodbath. His public implosion was threatening her payday. "My contacts can't help a man who's being actively hunted by the Davenport family," she said coolly. "You didn't just have an argument, did you, Greg? What did you do to her?" "I did what I had to do," he roared. "She was out of control." "And now you are," Brenda retorted. "You need to fix this. You need money. Now." Gregory's mind raced. There was one last place, one secret, a series of offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. It wasn't just profit, it was his seed. The money no one knew about. He flew into a rage, trying to access the accounts from his laptop. "Blocked! How is it blocked?" In the war room, Max Davenport simply said, "Got him." Mr. Price's team hadn't just been digging into public records. They had been conducting deep data forensics. When Gregory tried to access his offshore funds, he triggered a silent alarm monitored by Max's team. "He's trying to access the Serpent's Nest Fund," Max's lead analyst said. "He's using a high-level encryption key." "But we're better," Max said. While Leo and Ethan had been applying the pressure, Max had been searching for the original sin, and he'd found it. He'd found him. Gregory Shaw's uncle, who gave him the $10,000 loan. He didn't exist, Max explained to his brothers. He had a partner, his first mentor, a man named Robert Kincaid. A new face appeared on the holographic display, a kind-looking man in his late 50s, with graying hair and glasses. Robert Kincaid, Max continued, was a small-time, brilliant architect. He had a dream of building affordable high-design housing. He took Gregory in, treated him like a son. Together they formed a small company, Kincaid Shaw Designs. "I've never heard of him," Ethan said. "Because he's dead," Max said. 12 years ago. Died of a sudden heart attack while on a hiking trip. Alone. "And Gregory?" Leo asked, his voice low. Gregory was the sole beneficiary of Kincaid's shares in the company. 2 weeks after the funeral, Gregory liquidated the company, took all the cash, about $8 million from Kincaid's life's work, and used it to create Shaw Enterprises. He buried the name Kincaid and built his empire on that $8 million. The Serpent's Nest Fund is where he's hidden the original stolen money. The room was silent. He stole from his dead partner, Ethan whispered, disgusted. "I think he did more than that," Max said. "Kincaid was in perfect health. He was an experienced hiker. He fell from a simple trail. Price's team is pulling the original coroner's report now. I'll bet my entire company it was falsified. Leo looked at the screen, his face pale. So the money Gregory's trying to access, it's blood money. It's the very foundation. Exactly, Max said. And now we're going to use it to bury him. Max's team, having tracked Gregory's desperate attempt to access the fund, launched their counterattack. They didn't just block him. They used a man-in-the-middle attack. When Gregory thought he was logging into his Cayman bank, he was actually logging into a perfect replica created by Max's team. He entered his passwords, his security codes, his mother's maiden name. Access denied. He tried again. Access denied. What he didn't see was that on Max's screen, a green bar was loading. Full fund access. Granted. We're in, the analyst said. Full control of the Serpent's Nest Fund. How much? Leo asked. $15 million, compounded over 12 years. Transfer it, Max ordered. All of it. Not to us. I want it transferred into a new trust, set up in Robert Kincaid's name, to be administered by his living relatives. He has relatives? Ethan asked. A widow. And a daughter, Max said. They live in upstate New York. They got nothing from Kincaid's death. They've been living in near poverty for a decade. My God, Ethan said. He was already standing up. My media team. A documentary. A human interest story. The forgotten genius, Robert Kincaid. We're not just ruining Gregory. We're resurrecting his first victim. While Ethan scrambled his documentary crews, Leo put the final nail in the financial coffin. With Gregory's offshore funds gone, he had no way to meet the $50 million collateral call. He's going to default, Leo said, watching the 48-hour deadline clock tick down. 3, 2, 1, 0. An alert pinged. Jensen Tate Bank had officially filed to seize the Dubai development assets, but Leo wasn't done. They're seizing the asset, Leo said. But he personally guaranteed the loan. That means they can come after his personal property. Like his Park Avenue penthouse? Ethan asked. Like his art collection? Like his cars? Like the engagement ring he gave our sister? Leo said. But I'm not going to let Jensen Tate have it. Before Jensen Tate's filing could be processed, Leo Davenport made a call. Davenport Capital bought Gregory Shaw's entire debt from the bank, for pennies on the dollar. Jensen Tate, already under pressure from Leo's bear raid, was terrified of holding a toxic asset and was happy to sell. What does that mean? Ethan asked. Max looked at his younger brother with a rare hint of approval. It means, Max said, that Gregory Shaw no longer owes the bank. Leo's shark-like grin returned. He owes me. In her apartment, Brenda Holloway watched Gregory crumble. He was on the phone, screaming, having just learned his offshore accounts were empty. It's gone. It's all gone. Someone stole it. Brenda's face, for the first time, showed a flash of genuine fear. Her plan to drain him was useless if there was nothing left to drain. This was supposed to be her revenge, her payout. The Davenports were ruining everything. Gregory, in his paranoia, turned on her. You! This started when I met you. You're part of this. I'm not, she yelled, backing away. You're working with them. He grabbed her arm, his fingers digging in. Get off me, she shrieked. He raised his hand to strike her. But before he could, his phone rang with a new, unknown number. He let her go, answering it. Who is this? He snarled. The voice on the other end was cheerful, cold, and utterly terrifying. Hello, Gregory. This is Leo Davenport. I just wanted to welcome you to the Davenport Capital family. You see, I own your debt now. All $250 million of it. And I'm calling it in. I'll be expecting a check by morning, or I'll just take everything, starting with the watch on your wrist." Gregory Shaw's face went white. He dropped the phone. He had just lost his empire, and he was now, quite literally, the property of his most ruthless enemy. The financial implosion was silent but absolute. The social execution, however, would be deafening. It was Ethan Davenport's turn to take center stage. Gregory Shaw was legally bankrupt. He was a man without a company, without a credit line, and, as of that morning, without a home. Leo had filed the liens. The Park Avenue penthouse was seized. His cars were towed. His bank accounts were empty. He was still holed up in Brenda's apartment, but he was no longer a millionaire mogul. He was just a man in a borrowed room. But the public didn't know the extent of it. Yet. "He's financially ruined," Ethan said in the war room. "Now, we make sure he can never crawl back. We have to salt the earth. His name, his reputation, it has to be synonymous with monster." Ethan's plan was twofold: exhume the victim and expose the abuser. The first part was the documentary, The Kincaid-Shaw Deception, a genius betrayed. Ethan's best investigative journalists had spent 2 weeks with Robert Kincaid's widow and daughter. They had found Kincaid's original journals, his blueprints, and his letters. They also had the coroner's report, which Max's experts had confirmed was grossly inconsistent with a simple fall. The documentary was rushed to air on DMG's primary news network. It was a masterpiece of emotional storytelling. It painted Robert Kincaid as a visionary father and mentor, and Gregory Shaw as the sociopathic protégé who stole his dreams, his money, and, the documentary heavily implied, his life. Overnight, Gregory Shaw's public image shifted from troubled developer to potential murderer. But Ethan saved his most personal attack for last. "He needs to be seen for what he did to Josie," Ethan insisted. "Not just as a white-collar criminal, as a wife-beater." "Josephine doesn't want to be in the public eye," Max warned. "We have to protect her." "She won't be," Ethan said. "He will. He's still with the Mistress. Brenda Holloway. He attacked our sister for this woman. Let's put her in the spotlight and see how she likes the heat." Ethan's top gossip columnist, the one who had broken the first rumor story, now published a full-blown exposé. Inside the lair of Brenda Holloway, the mistress who watched an empire burn. The article was brutal. It used photos, supplied by Price's surveillance team, of Gregory and Brenda laughing on her balcony, dated the night of the assault. It detailed her background as a consultant known for targeting wealthy, married men. It painted her not just as a home wrecker, but as a parasite, clinging to Shaw as he brutalized his pregnant wife. Brenda Holloway, who had always operated in the shadows, woke up to find her face on every major gossip site in the world. Her phone exploded. Her email crashed. Reporters were camped outside her apartment building. She was terrified, but she was also furious. "You did this!" she shrieked at Gregory. He was sitting on her sofa, unshaven, drinking her whiskey. "You brought them down on me. They think I'm the villain." "Shut up," Gregory mumbled, staring at the TV, which was playing another segment about Robert Kincaid. "It's all lies. They're outside my home. I can't leave. You've ruined me." "You wanted me. You got me," he yelled back. "This is what happens when you play in the big leagues. I never wanted this." This was the twist, the one the Davenports hadn't seen coming. Brenda Holloway grabbed her purse. "I'm done. I'm not going down with you." "Where are you going?" Gregory grabbed her. "You're not leaving me. Let go of me." She pulled away, a look of pure hatred on her face. "You know what? I'm glad they're doing this to you. You deserve it. You deserve all of it." You knew?" Gregory's paranoid eyes widened. "You were working with them." "No," she laughed, a bitter, broken sound. I wasn't working with them. I was working for me. I had my own plan. Gregory stared at her, confused. "You don't even remember him, do you?" she whispered, her voice filled with a venom that chilled him to the bone. "Robert Kincaid." "What? The man from the news? What about him?" "He was a genius. He was a kind man. He treated you like a son. He gave you everything." "He was a weak old fool who got in my way," Gregory spat. Brenda's face collapsed. "He was my father." The silence in the penthouse was absolute. Gregory's world, which he thought had already hit rock bottom, suddenly fell away, revealing a new, dark abyss. What did you say?" "Robert Kincaid was my father. Brenda Kincaid Holloway. You stole his company, you stole his designs, and you left him to die on that mountain." "It was an accident," Gregory whispered, backing away. "You pushed him," she screamed, all pretense gone. "My mother and I, we knew it. We knew you did it, but we couldn't prove it. You buried us. I've spent the last 12 years of my life planning this. I got into real estate. I changed my name. I worked my way into your circle. I made you want me. I was going to ruin you slowly. I was going to take every penny, just like you took everything from us. You, this whole time..." Gregory was dumbfounded. "Yes, this whole time. And you arrogant, violent monster, you couldn't even let me finish. You had to go and attack your wife. You brought the Davenport army down on us, and they ruined a perfectly good revenge plan." "You're insane," he stammered. "I have the proof, Gregory," she said, a cold smile spreading across her face. "The real proof, not just the documentaries. I have your original ledger. The one you thought you burned. The one showing the illegal transfer of my father's assets. I've had it for 6 months. I was waiting for the right moment." Gregory lunged for her. "Give it to me!" Brenda was faster. She grabbed a heavy glass award from her shelf, a top consultant prize, and smashed it across his face. Gregory crumpled to the floor, clutching his bleeding nose. Brenda stepped over him, walked to her front door, and pressed the intercom. "Lobby? You can send them up now." "Send who up?" Gregory gurgled from the floor. The elevator chimed. The apartment door opened. It was not the press. It was Mr. Price, flanked by 2 uniformed NYPD officers. "Brenda, additional thoughts. The story is developing well. I have reached the target word count for 5 parts, 250 words, and I'm on track. The twists are in place. The Kincaid revelation, the mistress's true identity, and the brothers' multi-pronged attack. The user requested at least 7 parts. I have delivered 5. I need to write at least 2 more parts, plus the conclusion, to fulfill the prompt. The original 8-part plan is still sound. I need to write part 6, 7, and 8, and the final CTA. Part 6, The Lair of the Mistress. I've partially done this, but I need to show the Davenports reacting to this twist. They bugged her apartment. They must have heard this confession. This changes everything. Part 7, The Reckoning. The alliance with Brenda. The final public takedown. The arrest. Part 8, The Epilogue. Josephine's recovery. The baby. The brothers as uncles. The final resolution. Conclusion to... The final sign-off for the video. The word count target is plus 10,500. I am at 5,300 words. I need to write about 5,200 more. This means the remaining 3 parts, 6, 7, 8, need to be very substantial, averaging for 700 words each. This is achievable. I will focus on the details of the brothers' reaction to the Brenda Kincaid twist, the tense meeting between them, the meticulous planning of the final public arrest, and a deeply emotional resolution for Josephine. I have all the information and planning needed. I will now proceed to write the rest of the story. I walked past the officers. He's all yours, detective. He assaulted me, and I have a feeling you're going to want to talk to him about a few other things. As she walked out of the apartment, free for the first time in 12 years, Gregory Shaw looked up from the floor, blood pouring from his nose, and saw the cold, satisfied face of Mr. Price looking down at him. "Mr. Shaw," Price said, his voice flat. "This is for the assault on Miss Holloway, but don't get comfortable. The real charges are coming." In the Davenport War Room, there was a stunned silence. The room was not just fed by data and financial tickers, it was fed by audio. Mr. Price's team hadn't just put surveillance on Brenda's building. They had, with extreme prejudice and a federal warrant obtained through Max's high-level contacts, placed a listening device inside her apartment 2 days prior. They had been listening, assuming she was a co-conspirator. They had just heard her confession. Robert Kincaid was her father. Ethan was the first to speak, his voice awed. She's been playing him this entire time. Leo let out a low whistle. She wasn't a parasite. She was a predator, a different kind. She was after revenge, just like us. Max's face was a mask of cold calculation. He was rewinding the audio, listening again to the key phrases. "I have the proof. Your original ledger. You pushed him." "This changes the game," Max said. "He was just arrested for assaulting Brenda. That's a misdemeanor, maybe a low-grade felony. He'd be out on bail by morning, and he'd use his remaining influence to fight it." "But this," Leo said, tapping the speaker, "this ledger she has, that's the murder weapon, or the next best thing." "She hates us," Ethan pointed out. "She just screamed that we ruined a perfectly good revenge plan." "She's not going to cooperate. She's a lone wolf." "She will," Max said, "because her plan failed. She wanted to drain him financially and then expose him. We beat her to the first part. Now she's left with an exposé that makes her look like a villain. She's just as toxic as he is in the public eye. She needs us as much as we need that ledger." Max looked at Mr. Price, who was listening from the corner. "Where did she go?" "She's in NYPD protective custody at the 17th Precinct, giving her statement against Shaw," Price replied. "Shaw is being processed. He'll be arraigned in the morning. His lawyer is already there." "He'll walk," Leo spat. "Bail will be set. He'll pay it with his lawyer's money, and he'll be gone." "No, he won't," Max said. "He's being held for the assault on Brenda. But by morning, he'll be held for something much, much bigger." Max turned to Ethan. "Your documentary was good. It was all insinuation. Now we need the part 2, the one with the physical evidence, the one that proves the accidental death was a homicide." "I need the ledger," Ethan said. "Then let's go get it," Max replied. "Leo, you're with me. Ethan, get your top journalist. Get a camera crew. Meet us at the precinct. This is going to happen fast." Brenda Holloway was sitting in a drab beige interview room, sipping a stale coffee. She had just finished giving her statement. A detective had patted her on the shoulder, calling her brave. She felt anything but. She felt empty. Her life's work, her 12-year plan, had been co-opted and smashed by a trio of billionaires she'd never even met. The door opened. It wasn't the detective, it was Maxwell and Leo Davenport. Brenda's eyes widened, then narrowed. "Get out. I have nothing to say to you. You ruined me. You turned the entire world against me. They think I'm a common mistress." "We thought you were too," Leo said, sitting down opposite her, his usual fire banked, replaced by a cold curiosity. "We were wrong. You're Robert Kincaid's daughter." Brenda froze. "We heard the conversation, Brenda," Max said, remaining standing. His presence seemed to suck the air out of the room. "We know what he did. To your father. And we know what you have. The ledger." "So what?" she spat. "You want it? So you can be the big heroes? So you can take that too?" "We want it," Max said, "so that Gregory Shaw never sees the outside of a maximum security prison. Right now, he's getting out. He'll be arraigned for assault, post bail, and disappear. He's a monster. He tried to kill my sister and his own unborn child." "He did kill my father," Brenda whispered, the mask of anger cracking, revealing the deep, ancient pain beneath. "He left him on a ledge with a broken ankle and watched him freeze. He told my mother it was a tragic accident. He came to the funeral and cried." Leo leaned forward. "We know. And we have the falsified coroner's report. We have the financial trail that shows the money moving from your father's accounts to the serpent's nest. But the ledger is the direct link. It's his handwriting. It's the why. It's what the district attorney needs to elevate this from a cold case to a first-degree murder charge." "And what do I get?" Brenda asked, her eyes hard again. "You've already taken his money." "You get your name back," Max said simply. Brenda looked at him. "Right now," Max continued, "you're Brenda Holloway, the home wrecker. Ethan is outside with his top investigative reporter. You give us that ledger, you give us an interview. You tell the world who you are. You tell them what you did. You are no longer the mistress. You are the daughter who spent 12 years avenging her father. You become the hero of this story." Brenda stared at him. It was a perfect trap, or a perfect solution. He took everything from us," she said. "My mother. She had to work 2 jobs. We lost our house. That man, he was on magazines being called a visionary, using my father's designs." "And now you can fix it," Leo said, his voice softer. "We've already recovered the $15 million he stole, the original money. It's in a trust, in your father's name. It's waiting for you and your mother." Tears welled in Brenda's eyes, not of sadness but of shock. You did that?" "We didn't know it was for you," Max said. "We just knew it wasn't his. We did it to destroy him. You get to be the one who finishes him. The ledger, Brenda. Where is it?" "It's not on me. It's safe," she said. "In a bank safe deposit box. The key is in my boot." Max nodded. "Mr. Price will escort you. Go get it. Bring it back here. The reporter will be waiting." Brenda stood up, a new, terrible purpose in her eyes. The Davenports hadn't ruined her plan. They had, in their own brutal, efficient way, completed it. "He won't just go to jail," she said. "I want to be there. I want to see his face when he knows I won." "You will be," Max promised. "He has a charity gala he was supposed to host tomorrow night. The Shaw Foundation for Urban Youth. It's a sham, a PR front. The venue is booked. The press is invited." Ethan stepped into the room, his phone in his hand. "And the event is still on. The board is scrambling. They're leaderless. But I just used 3 of my shell companies to become the anonymous benefactor for the event. I've taken it over. The guests are still coming. The press is still coming. Gregory Shaw thinks he's a pariah. By tomorrow night, he'll be a legend. Of the worst kind." "What are you saying?" Brenda asked. "We're saying," Leo said, a wicked grin spreading across his face, "that we're going to use his own party to execute him. The Shaw Foundation Gala at the New York Public Library was meant to be Gregory's masterpiece of public deception. Instead, it was Ethan Davenport's trap. Ethan had anonymously funded the event, ensuring the press and the city's elite would gather. They thought they were covering the public disgrace of a bankrupt developer. They were about to cover a public execution. Gregory Shaw, against all odds, was there. He had been released on bail for the assault on Brenda, his lawyer arguing he was the victim of a corporate takedown. He arrived in a rumpled tuxedo, his face a mask of pale desperation, his nose swollen and bruised from where Brenda had struck him. He was a ghost at his own feast. The music faltered as he entered, and the hall fell silent. Summoning his last dregs of arrogance, Gregory made his way to the stage and grabbed the microphone. "My friends, colleagues," he began, his voice hoarse. "I know what you've been reading. Lies. All of it. Vicious, coordinated lies by my competitors. My family." In the back of the hall, the three Davenport brothers stood in the shadows. Beside them stood Brenda Kincaid Holloway, dressed in a dark suit, holding a leather-bound ledger. "He's pathetic," Leo whispered. "It's time," Ethan said, nodding to his media team. Click. The massive screens on either side of the stage, which had been showing images of smiling children, suddenly went black. Gregory paused, confused. Then they flickered to life. It was Ethan's special report. "We are live," a reporter's voice boomed, "with breaking news. We are here with a woman who has just given explosive testimony to the NYPD." The video cut to Brenda, composed and clear. "My name is Brenda Kincaid Holloway. Robert Kincaid was my father, and Gregory Shaw murdered him." A collective gasp swept the hall. Gregory stared at the screen, his face ashen. "Turn it off," he screamed. "She's a liar. She's insane." But the video continued. On screen, Brenda held up the ledger. "I have the proof. This is Gregory's own handwriting. A confession, detailing the transfer of my father's assets, and a note. Kincaid problem solved." As the video played, the real Brenda Kincaid Holloway began walking down the center aisle toward the stage. The crowd parted for her like water. Gregory turned, his eyes wide with terror, as Brenda walked up the steps. She took the microphone from his limp hand. She looked at him. "He took my father," she said to the silent crowd, her voice amplified, shaking with emotion. "And then he took his new wife, Josephine, a pregnant woman, and he beat her. With a stick. Because he was afraid she would find out his lies." The room erupted. This was the first time the full, brutal detail of the assault had been made public. "He's not a philanthropist," Brenda cried. "He is a thief. He is an abuser. And he is a murderer. Mr. Shaw." A new voice cut through the chaos. The main doors of the library burst open. A police detective, flanked by uniformed officers, strode down the aisle. "Gregory Shaw," the detective announced. "You are under arrest for the suspected homicide of Robert Kincaid. You are also under arrest for the aggravated assault and battery of your wife, Josephine Shaw." Gregory looked for an escape, only to see Max, Ethan, and Leo emerge from the shadows, blocking his path. His eyes, wild and desperate, found Max's. You did this," he spat. Max just looked at him, his voice cold. "You did this to yourself, Gregory, when you touched our sister." As the detectives cuffed him, a process server stepped in front of him, pushing a thick envelope into his cuffed hands. "Mr. Shaw, you've been served. Divorce papers. On behalf of Josephine Davenport. She has filed for sole custody of the child and a lifetime restraining order. You will never see her or your child again." Gregory Shaw let out a guttural, animalistic roar as he was dragged away, a ruined man. On the stage, Brenda Kincaid Holloway stood tall, the ledger in her hand, tears streaming down her face. Her father was finally at peace. 6 months later, Gregory Shaw was a memory, having taken a plea deal for life in prison. His empire was dissolved, its assets funding the new Kincaid Holloway Fund for Victims, run by Brenda Kincaid Holloway. With her name restored, she was no longer a pariah, but a public advocate for justice. But the real story, the one that mattered, was happening far from the cameras. In a light-filled nursery, Josephine, her scars faded and her spirit healing, sat in a rocking chair, the picture of happiness. In her arms, she cradled a healthy, beautiful baby boy. Her brothers entered, not as CEOs but as uncles, awkwardly bearing gifts, a teddy bear from Max, sneakers from Leo. "What's his name, Josie?" Max asked, sitting beside her. Josephine looked at her son, then at her brothers, her eyes full of love. "I wanted to name him after someone strong, who builds things up instead of tearing them down," she announced. "His name is Robert Maxwell Davenport." Max's breath hitched, his eyes suddenly bright. Ethan and Leo were speechless. "He's a Davenport," she said firmly, "and he will always be safe." Max reached out and put his hand over hers. "Yes, he will." The brothers had used their immense power to save their sister, and, in doing so, had resurrected a long-buried victim. The revenge was total, but it wasn't an end. It was a new beginning for Josephine, for baby Robert, and for the Davenport family, bound not by business, but by an unbreakable, protective love. That was the real Davenport legacy. The story of Gregory Shaw is a dark reminder that monsters often hide behind the brightest smiles and the most impressive bank accounts. He thought his wealth made him untouchable. He thought he could break a woman and her family. He forgot that a sister, protected by brothers who would burn the world for her, is the strongest force on earth. Josephine and her son are safe, and Brenda Kincaid's father finally has justice. The world is full of Gregory Shaws. If this story touched you, if you believe in justice, and if you believe in the power of family, then please help us share this video. Hit that like button, share this story with your friends, and most importantly, subscribe to this channel. Your support helps us tell more stories like this one, stories where the light, no matter how powerful the darkness, always wins. Thank you for listening.